Fantastic. That's fantastic. And I usually, where I go to speak, usually doesn't have snacks like this. So I'll have to leave it alone. But that is impressive, y'all. Really is. It just tells me that a lot of people are working really hard to share the gospel and to get them to get you to a place in your spiritual life where you felt like you could make a decision to become Episcopalian. Wow. I became Episcopalian when I was 25. So see what could happen to you? I mean, really, it's a real big adventure. You don't know what's going to happen. I had absolutely no interest in being a priest. No interest in, I never did not want to be a bishop. I just didn't have any idea what was going to happen. None at all. When I look back on it, I think I probably knew I had this interest in church and God and Jesus, and I had a lot of questions. So I had decided that eventually I would go to seminary. This was my secret. Nobody knew it. And it started to bother me so much that I came to Peter Horn. Have you ever heard of Peter Horn? Peter Horn was here many years ago. I came to Peter and I said, Peter, I keep thinking I should go to seminary. And Peter said, don't go until you have to. That was Peter's advice. Do not go until you absolutely have to go. And I didn't understand what he meant, but by the time I went, I understood what he meant. Because if you are called to ordained ministry, it will haunt you until you pursue it. So it did, and I finally went to my rector in Montgomery at St. John's and said, I have this idea, and it's really my secret. And he said, well, let's talk about it and see what happens. And see what happened. I quit my job. I went to seminary and eventually ended up where I am now. Longer story, but anyway. So you're on an adventure. When I was 20, whatever, I did not have a clue, but I knew that I had been in church. I did not grow up in church, but that I had seen enough of church. And I went to the Baptist church when I was 16 because the youth group took me. And I knew that I could not ask all the questions I wanted to ask. I just found out. I mean, I wanted to ask some questions, and I asked them, and everybody had a frowny face. They gave me lots of frowny faces. And at the same time, my youth group loved me a lot. I got really connected to Campus Crusade ministry and the campus of the University of South Carolina, and I ended up thinking, well, and my college roommate took me to an Episcopal church, Trinity Cathedral in Columbia, South Carolina, on Christmas Eve. It's not a fair fight. When you go to a cathedral on Christmas Eve, you get to see all the stuff. And I came away going, gosh, I don't understand the Episcopal Church. And people are still saying that in my life, but I went and I started to study, and I found out that I couldn't exhaust all the questions in the prayer book. And everything that's in the prayer book has come from Scripture. But not everything in Scripture is in the prayer book. So you have to have both. You have to have Scripture, which is our foundation, and then the prayer book. And there's a prayer in there for everything in the world. Thanksgiving, Independence Day, Rogation Days. I mean, you can look them up. Teachers, musicians. I mean, it's loaded. And so, what I found was that really don't ask any questions and that really ask anything you want came together in a very nice way in the Episcopal Church. And I could ask questions. I could sit with someone next to me that did not agree with me, and if we kept going to church together, we would love each other. And that was like magic. That was amazing that I could I would meet people. I knew that we didn't quite agree theologically, but it wasn't that important because we were worshiping together and we were serving Jesus together, and it became bigger than my differences. And then I noticed that some of the questions I had, the answers changed after I got, a little older and I started reading, and I saw that, I didn't have like everything nailed down like I imagined. So if you're feeling like that, that I went through that. Look where it worked out. I guess you could say. God kept calling me into deeper vocation, and that's my story. But you got a story, so that's what you're figuring out. And so I'm really excited to be part of that. Bishop just means overseer. That's what the word means. So I am overseeing the Diocese of Alabama at the moment, but I won't be as of June 27th, 2026. You know what that date is? That is the day that I hand the crozier to the lucky number 13. That's what I will hand that person the crozier after they're consecrated, the 13th Bishop of Alabama, and I will hand it to them, and I will pray for them every day, and I don't know what I'm going to do. People like to ask me that question, and I say, first thing I'm going to do is sleep late. The next thing I'm going to do is wander around my yard without having a deadline. I have many exciting projects like that. If I want to go to, I don't know, wherever I want to go, I can just go, and I don't have to worry that I have to be right back because I have an obligation or something that I need to do. And I have had a terrific time being your bishop. It's been a bunch of stuff, from the beginning to the end. I was elected, and my very first conference call was to close churches because COVID came. I will always remember that call because it was like, oh my gosh, I'm setting my face in a direction here. We're having to close these churches. And everybody at that time thought it's only going to be 2 weeks. We're just going to close it for 2 weeks. And then it was 2 more, and 3 more, and 8 more, and months, as we all know, and then figuring out what to do. But the churches were fantastic. The parishes jumped into action. They found ways to love each other that were amazing. We did not believe in schedule changes. We did not believe in electronic, internet, recorded service. We used to have big debates about recording a service. I have been in some of those. We can't record this service. This is God's service. We're not recording it. We're free, And I'm like, well, we got right past that really quick. We just moved into action, and we found lots of ways to connect and to keep our churches going. And I'm a numbers person, and so I've been watching our numbers, the numbers of baptisms, the numbers of confirmations, the numbers of communicates, the numbers of money, etc. And here's our trajectory since 2019. 2019, we were right here. 2020, we went like this. 2021, we went like this. 2022, we went like that, and then we went. And now we're going like that. And we will be this year equal to 2019 numbers in the same categories. And in a lot of places, we're going to be ahead of where we were in 2019. So the church is not dying. The word out on the street, it's not dying. It's changing with things like electronic stuff and lots of services that are different and reaching out in the direction of showing the community what it is we do and why they would miss us if we weren't here, which St. Stephen's does so amazing in so many ways. And we're going to keep doing that in a lot of our smaller places. The question I go in and ask them is, if you were gone tomorrow, what would Marion, Alabama miss about St. Wilfrid's? And they can make a list, and they're working on it because they really want, and they bring such life to our communities. Our parishes, even the smallest ones, are doing a fabulous job. So I'm very optimistic about the future of the Diocese of Alabama. It's very strong in the Episcopal Church. It's considered a flagship. It's one of our, in Province 4, which is the southeast, we are the third largest diocese, and we are thriving and growing in so many ways that it's a joy. And then in our smallest places, they have recovered ways of being important to their communities, but we've also found some ways of filling vacancies that were out there. So I think we have 4 full-time vacancies right now for clergy. We have always a need for someone who wants to be bivocational, in other words, have a job and then whatever, and then also serve a church. And we have right now 54 people in the ordination process, from discernment to getting ready to be ordained. We've really seen a real pipeline open, and I'm looking at someone that served on those committees for so long. And we've really seen a pipeline open, and we're trying to discern and get people, and St. Stephen's is a big part of that too. So I'm going to stop. I think things are going well. The capital campaign that we had, Equipping the Saints, we were going to raise $7.5 million for the ministry to equip the saints in 3 different ways, and we raised 8.6. So I'm very pleased that that worked, and that will let us have an endowment of 4.5 that will be reserved, and they've already done it, the council has, for congregational vitality, to help small churches have a small grant every year of some kind to stimulate their ministry or remove a barrier. And so I'm very happy about that, because that'll give the next bishop about $220,000 a year to use to support those churches, which is really and thanks to the generosity of everybody, including St. Stephen's, who gave us a very, very nice gift. So thank you for that. Camp McDowell, we're fixing Epps Hall. We're working on a hole in the pool. You know, holes in pools don't sound like much until you get behind them, and then they're much. They turn into something. But our pool is pretty old. It's been there a long time. And so we're doing some much needed repair work on it to make it better. We got the septic system all sorted out, which was a big need as well. Not fun to talk about, but a big need. So I'm going to let you ask me questions. And we have a microphone that we could, oh yeah, Taylor has a mic. I'm going to get to eat my snack if no one asks me any questions.
Thank you for being here. And in equipping the saints, I know a third part of that was around Montgomery and Selma and the racial reconciliation. Can you speak to that and what was involved?
Racial healing and reconciliation, we focused a lot of energy on that during my time as bishop, for the purpose of trying to honestly be part of what was already happening, the church figuring out where it fit, Equal Justice Initiative, Rosa Parks Museum, all the things that happened in Selma. People are more and more interested in understanding where civil rights in the church was always connected to it in a primary way. Church of the Good Shepherd was busy telling its story of its first rector, who was part of the civil rights movement, working with Dr. King and many other people, and they have a great story to tell. And they were trying to tell it in a church that was almost fallen down with not much room. And more people come to EJI. About 500,000 people a year come to Montgomery to go to EJI and then on to Selma. And so we we're working to fix Good Shepherd. The parish hall has been renovated. They're in the last stage of that, and that was from Equipping the Saints, giving them, they did not have a coded, handicapped, accessible way of accessing their church that was to code. They had built it themselves, and so it was kind of not good. It was major not good. And if you walked out the back of the parish hall, you would fall off the church into like a long way down. And things like that were not good. One side of the church 7.5 feet lower than the other, and that was where the parking lot was. So we have, all of that is being redone, and the church itself, which was built in 1836, had some repairs that needed to be done to keep the windows from falling out. And they just never had the means to do it. So we're fixing that church so it won't fall down, which I think is definitely reconciliation, but it should have been fixed. I mean, it's just like, I was amazed. So that is going on. Plus we have a missioner position at the diocese, which is a missioner for racial reconciliation and pilgrimage. Now, what does she do? Well, Jonathan Daniels' pilgrimage, which this year with Michael Curry, my cousin, preaching, it was about twice as big as it ever has been. There were 300 plus people there. It was so big that if you walked to the store, you didn't have to do anything but turn around. You'd be at the courthouse. It was that crowded out there. But that pilgrimage is growing. We also have something called the Scottsboro Boys Story. We initiated a pilgrimage there, which is later in October, or it was in October, early in October. I forgot what month I'm in. And we will have that on an annual basis. And we've also, the missioner does things like courageous conversation classes, encouraging sacred ground, groups that many of you have had here and other places, so that we talk more about racial reconciliation. Pilgrimage is doing its own thing, and I'll say more about that in a minute, but the idea of pilgrimage, that when you go walking the steps of the people that have gone before you in these places, something happens to you. You heal, and then maybe you learn something you didn't know. And more churches are doing that. And Brianna Carter, who's our missioner, is helping them go to the right places. Dioceses from all over the country are coming here bringing groups, and we're having a role in that, helping them find the right way to go. And then what's happening in Selma, they have converted a large building into something that sleeps 17 or 18 people. And so they're receiving groups overnight and taking them across the Pettus Bridge and doing all the things in Selma. So all of that is growing, and I think it's spreading. People are looking at their own church and asking, what was our role? What can we learn? What do we need to know? I'm a big believer in pilgrimage. I've done many myself all over Europe, walked many places. I know that you just recently had a group that went to Santiago, maybe more than one. Did y'all go to Santiago? 2 groups, yeah. Who went to Santiago on the pilgrimage? There you go, Catherine? Yeah, there you go. You see, what you learn is about yourself, but also you learn all about where you are in a different way. And you learn about your connection to God and other people's connections to God. And then you challenge yourself a little bit to do something you otherwise might not do, like, I don't know, talk to somebody on the road. It doesn't sound like a big thing, but it's a pretty big thing when you're doing it. It's a nod to the idea that there's some blessing from getting lost, and then being found again. So pilgrimage is really important. And I see John, wherever John went, John encouraging that here at St. Stephen's in several ways. Doing it himself, taking a group, encouraging more to go. So, but enough about me. What's happening to you? What are you most excited about? Somebody gonna ask a question because I'll hush, but what are you most excited about being confirmed today? Somebody will say something. It will happen. Satisfying your parents. Let's see. Maybe finding a church home. I see some heads. A community, yes. Wow. This is a great community. Wow. Let's see. What was the biggest blessing of you being confirmed, all you old confirmed people over here? What was the biggest blessing of you finding the Episcopal Church?
Knowing I belong to God.
Knowing you belong to God. Exactly.
I'm so happy to find a place where I can ask questions that I didn't necessarily expect all the answers to agree with what my understanding was. Where I can find a place that I could be part of a group that is seeing God from different perspectives.
So Mike's saying he was, and I'm doing this for the internet, that he was most excited about finding a place, correct me if I'm wrong, where he could ask questions, even if the questions did not have answers, that was okay. That was totally okay. And you were loved in the middle of it. I bet you felt more loved after you could ask the question. Something about that level of acceptance that happens. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm consistent, so I may have mentioned this to you before. Are there any initiatives in the church about mental health awareness?
I think, yes, are you talking about the Episcopal Church or?
Either the or, our diocese.
We are working on, and it's coming out of the youth ministry and campus ministry, we are working on having Jen Manning, who is our missioner for that, trained in trauma and trauma counseling, and we've started to try to do that in a bigger way. And I would say that would be, in terms of initiative. And we're working on a formation curriculum that is not in a binder, but is like a plan for, here's what, all the things we already do, how does that fit into the formation of a person from birth to older? And that includes all the many events and things that go on in the YD and all the events that go on at camp, trying to make sense of that and then look where our holes are. And we have a sort of a, what would you call it? A list that when people call us, and a list of people that are experts in certain things, that when people call us, we can provide a connection to counseling, a connection to a group therapy situation. But it's not, in terms of a big initiative, we haven't done that. That's a good question. Yes, sir. Wally.
At the confirmation, I would like to say the feeling, ongoing feeling of receiving grace and being able to give grace as a community.
Thank you. Yep, it keeps growing, doesn't it? It really does. So, what are you most worried about now that you're confirmed, now that you're going to be confirmed? With regard to your ministry here. What do you think God's calling you to do? Because God clearly called you to get confirmed. That would not have happened accidentally. But what could God be calling you to do here at St. Stephen's or in your daily life work? It comes up all kinds of ways. Have you thought about that? I think I became a lay Eucharistic minister right off the bat, like right out of the gate. I remember, and then I taught 4-year-olds. That was my second job after becoming, I know, when I think about it. I also did Stephen ministry, thinking back on the early days. But what is God calling you to do?
I think it's exciting to get to be an example of Jesus to communities that are grappling with what the church is because of the current climate. And there's so many people that associate church with negative, and so getting to show people like what we believe Jesus meant for us to be part of.
Oh, that's really good. Tell me your name.
Sarah.
Sarah says it's exciting to be in a place where she might get to tell other communities what it's like to live a life of faith. It might come up because we live in a world where the church is like, not everybody thinks it's that great an idea, and you might be one of the people that gets to help hold that up in a different way, if I heard you right. Is this church Republican? Is this church Democrat driven? Everybody froze in their chair.
It's a mixture.
It's a mixture, yes, it's both. Because that's not what we're here to do. We are here to learn about Jesus. And I know, I see Ellen Hamilton. I know what you are. I don't either. I'm teasing. I've known Ellen for 100 years. What I'm getting at is we are not aiming to support a political cause that is driven by those titles. We are aiming to support the politics of Jesus. If we are going to get political, we're going to try to love everybody the best we can. That's going to be our number one goal. And we're going to talk about that because there are a lot of places where you can learn a lot of things politically that the church is probably not that great at teaching. But this is the place where you learn about Christ and the story of Jesus and the story of the Bible and all the things that go with that help inform all those other decisions. That's how I put it together in my own life is, if I'm reading Scripture and I'm following Jesus, figuring out who to vote for is not as hard as it looks. But if all I'm talking about is who to vote for, that bucket gets empty pretty fast. And there are a lot of places I can get information about that. But I can't talk about Jesus. There are not a lot of places that you can go out and just have a big conversation about Jesus. A lot of people go, woo, watch out, that person's coming. Bishop Miller used to say if he's riding on an airplane and he has on his clerical collar, someone would ask him what he does. And if he wanted to talk to them, he would say, I'm the Bishop of Alabama. And if he didn't want to talk to them, he would say, I'm an evangelist. So that stuck with me. So I think, yeah. So anyway, other questions? Yes.
Hi, my name is Catherine Ann, and I heard you mention the programming information for the youth and college age ministry and things like that. Are there plans to continue that education and formation for the young professionals and young adults? And how can we look to see that grow?
As far as I know, there are plans to continue to move full steam ahead in young adult. But what we're seeing is that young adult ministry is not the same as it used to be. In other words, it's being picked up by a lot of churches and doesn't need as much separate nourishment. But we still have Vocare and other programs like that. And of course, all the things that happen on the campuses. The Birmingham campus ministry is going through a rebirth right now. But we still have Canterbury, North Alabama. The campus ministry has reformed there, and it's ecumenical. They're working, even though it's housed at Trinity in Florence, they're working with all denominations, and there are like 20 churches in that ministry now. But yeah, there's not going to. I think Alabama is still leader in young adult, youth, and campus ministry in the church, and I would imagine lucky number 13 is going to keep doing that because that's where the future of the church is. We can't learn enough from the younger people about how to do this. Can you tell us how to do it? How are we messing up? Hey, Sally.
Bishop G, sort of dovetailing on that question, one of the questions that came up when I was with the youth confirmation class, and I know has come up in other areas, is how can somebody still in high school live out their faith? And I thought you could speak to the ways you have seen the youth across our diocese live out their faith.
Many of our youth, I'll be happy to, and I'm sure Taylor told them same thing probably, that many of our young people are involved in Sawyerville camp programs, Sawyerville happening. You have tons of projects that you do here that are outreach oriented. Those are all good ways to do that. Are you thinking of something else?
No, I just thought you might have seen something in your travels. A lot of our kids have seen some stuff local, but maybe you have seen something that they hadn't.
Well, the Episcopal Youth Event, which we went to 2 years ago, it should be coming up again because it's every 3 years. And we had a big delegation there. And that's a chance for you to see what's happening with young people all over the church. I don't know where it will be. Will it be in Phoenix? No, that's when the next General Convention is in Phoenix.
I think it's an international, I think it's Province 9.
Oh, okay, so it's going to be in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Oh, well, nobody will want to go there. No. I think you're right, Catherine. It may be Province 9. There are also a number of mission trips that are happening all over the place, not just at St. Stephen's, all over the diocese because of our relationship with Honduras. We did, I don't even know how many mission trips have happened with Honduras in the last year. We have maybe 6 medical missions. We also have missions for construction, people that are going to help build schools and things like that. Youth are invited to go to those things too. Short-term mission is a very good way to understand your faith. You know, I went to Honduras. I have a background in nursing. I went to Honduras. They handed me a baby when I first got there that had bad illness, and I had no idea what to do. And it made me really, really dig deep to try to help this baby, and I realized how much poverty and everything that's just beyond words. And, you know, you serve in those places and you think, well, I'm just doing this for a few days, it's not going to matter. It really matters to the people. It matters to the people. As my friend in Africa told me, you cannot fix all their problems, but you will give them hope. They will see hope through your time with them. So short-term mission, I'm a big fan of that, and y'all do a lot of that here at St. Stephen's. But there are also other churches. If you just think of a church you're interested in, or if you know someone, look on their website, and they'll always tell you to come with them. I don't know anybody that would say, no, you're not from, you know, Trinity Florence, you can't go with us. I don't know. Our Episcopal churches don't operate really that way. I don't see that too much. But great question, Sally. Other questions that you were asking in class that you're afraid to ask now? Well, let me say this. It has been an extraordinary honor to be your bishop. It's been a joy and an honor. We've had 3 terrible hurricanes, an awful, awful catastrophe in the shooting that happened here. We've had a worldwide epidemic. We've had 2 presidential elections. We've had a statewide election in the middle of it. All this has happened in 5 years, 5.5 years. We've had countless tornadoes in Selma, just practically wiped it out. We've had just incredible challenges across the world in Israel and in Ukraine. All of that has happened in just that amount of time. I hope if I've not done anything else, what I've done is set the Diocese of Alabama in a path that if the person and the leaders keep going that way, they can predict certain things that are good will happen. I hope what I've done is say you can go through a worldwide epidemic and come out the other side, a pandemic, and come out the other side stronger than you were when you went in. I hope that I've been able to say there's not anything we can't do if we work together and if we stick together and if we walk alongside our small parishes and realize what contributions they're making. They're not ready to close, and there is no need for them to close. You know, I hope, if nothing else, that I've pointed and said the best days of the body of Christ that follows Jesus are ahead, not in decline. There's nothing to be sad about. Y'all have been incredibly generous to me. Prayers, love, notes, money. Our giving is way up. I didn't do that. You did it. You have poured out compassion and hope and love on everybody that has any need around you. I couldn't be more blessed to represent you nationally and internationally. It's been a tremendous joy to do that. I still have 6 months to go, and I'm not known for quitting ahead of time. I'm really excited about the next 6 months. We're wrapping up some things. I want to hand over that crozier, not the one Danny made me, but the other one. I want to hand over that crozier, and when I do, I want to hand over as much intact ministry that is funded, that is thriving as I possibly can. Because I think that represents you. Not for me, it's really to represent you. That is the Diocese of Alabama. It is strong, and it should be. And we have been blessed by giants in the faith that have helped leave this, and I didn't want to mess it up. That was my, please, Lord, don't let me mess this up. And let me leave it in really good shape so that it can go forward and be strong for all those babies that I saw this morning. For little Kate, who became Episcopal. I think that is the youngest Episcopalian that I've ever made. You see, if a bishop baptizes someone and then chrismates them, they are technically Episcopalian. And so when all of a sudden I caught myself, John, I went, oh my gosh, John's not here. And I thought, I'm about to, and I thought, well, I might as well tell him. I think that's the youngest Episcopalian I've ever made, but she still needs to go to confirmation class. But my family and I have been extraordinarily honored. People have started a rumor that somehow I want to be assisting bishop for the next bishop, and the answer to that is no, I do not. I hadn't even thought of it until I heard the rumor. And then I thought, people make up the darndest things. I want to see what God has in store, and I'm already getting phone calls about that. And I'm not, at this point in time, it's going to be fun discerning what else there is to do, if anything. I would be happy just playing for a while and going on some of the hikes that I have had no chance to go on. Being in residence in Santiago where they asked if I would be and I couldn't work out the dates. Things like that. I'm over the moon about that. But number 13 is going to be number 13 and not number 12 and a half, if you get me. So I'm going to help them do whatever I can so that they move independently ahead and that they take the gifts that we have tried to compile and use them the way God's telling them to do it. With your help, they won't have any trouble. 'Cause I feel protective of you. You know, like I'm going to say to them, don't mess it up. But I'm really going to say to them, do whatever God tells you to do. Because the church is changing and moving all the time. We have many reasons to be excited. So thank you very much. And thank you, John, for your support and for your vestry support. Catherine, Sally went scooting out. You have some great clergy here. There you are. Have some fantastic clergy, great staff. Some of them I know better than others. Gretchen and I go way back to All Saints. You just have St. Stephen's is doing, you might see me on the pew, sometime when you least expect it. I could probably sneak in and out and no one would know me if I'm not wearing that hat. So, but thank you very much. And I'm honored to confirm and receive all these today. It'll be wonderful to do that. And thank you for having me be part of it.
And we need to get the confirmands to their seats. So if you are being confirmed, if you're on the...
Do you want to tell them about the picture? So that...
We did, yeah.
Oh, you already did? Okay.
Yep.
That's the hardest part.
Bishop G, thank you for...
You're welcome.
Thank you for being here
Thank you,
and being
John.
with us today. Thank you.
You're welcome.